going to get tea. It's Stephanie White. She has had enough of what she has seen from the officials here today. Understandable frustration from Stephanie White.
Couple of possessions in a row where Leah Boston got the fouls. I thought the first one should have been on Howard. And then here, as Petty's in there, Philman kind of tosses her to the side a little bit, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back there.
What's tougher, starting game one without 6 players, or watching the referees tilt the floor against you in the biggest moment of the season? That's exactly what the Indiana Fever faced against the Atlanta Dream, and you could feel the frustration boiling over. Head coach Stephanie White finally snapped, earning a technical foul for saying what every fan was already thinking. So how does a team held together by tape and grit keep pushing through injuries and questionable officiating? Was it just bad luck or something that looked a lot more like sabotage? What unfolded in Game 1 left fans furious, players livid, and the entire league buzzing over whether the Fever were robbed.
They have. So Caitlin Clark, Chloe Bibby right there on the bench. But then you have Sophie Cunningham, Sid Colson, Ari McDonald, all actually having to sit separate from the bench. You also have Damiris Duntis.
Imagine stepping into the playoffs missing half your rotation before the opening tip. How do you even compete? That was the nightmare the Indiana Fever walked into. And it wasn't just 1 or 2 injuries. Caitlin Clark's groin injury had already ended her season. Chloe Bibby was sidelined with a knee issue. Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Colson were both lost to knee problems of their own. Ari McDonald went down with a foot injury, and to make matters worse, less than 24 hours before Game 1, Damiris Stantis was ruled out under concussion protocol. At 6 players gone, 6 key pieces of the rotation stripped away. Yet somehow, this depleted Fever squad still had to step onto the floor against a dream team that was fully healthy and ready to go.
The injured reserves here with you guys, which last month, they just weren't able to travel. What does that mean to you specifically, just having them there?
Yeah, I was super excited. I think just looking at the injured squad in itself, they just have a lot of knowledge. And so for us, just being able to listen to them, taking what they see, because obviously just them watching is going to be a different view than us on that court. And so super, super happy to have them with us.
How is that fair to the players or the fan? Indiana spent the entire season battling through the same kind of punishment just to lock down the 6th seed. They scratched and clawed their way through months of patchwork lineups, piecing together a roster that always felt incomplete. But instead of being rewarded with a clean slate for the playoffs, they arrived in Atlanta carrying more players on the inactive list than some teams dress on their bench.
Obviously, the injured players, they haven't been able to travel, some of them, but most of them are here now. Just how do they help kind of from a culture-wise and with, just bringing some perspective to you guys?
Yeah, we miss them every day on the court. So to be able to have them we had our plane, front of our plane, normally we have empty seats. It was filled on the way here. So, they bring energy, they bring light, they bring their vocal leaders, all of them. So to have them on this trip is huge. And I don't know how we're going to fit everyone on the bench. It's not that long. It's been packed recently. So I'm excited to see how we figure that out, but it'll be great to have them back with us.
And then there was the bench, a scene all its own. The Fever brought everyone to Atlanta, all 16 players, healthy or not. It was a powerful show of unity, but it also underscored the absurdity of their situation. There weren't even enough seats. The main row filled so quickly that injured players in street clothes were pushed to a second row, sitting behind the bench like passengers waiting to board a flight. The injury bug has hit hard when your team literally can't fit along the sideline.
They're finally able to travel from a medical standpoint as well. So, I think having the whole group here, having those guys here gives us a little bit of a boost emotionally. And then having their perspective. You're talking about 3 point guards that are sitting on the sideline that can talk to our team in huddles, that can talk to our team, throughout the course of dead balls or when they come on and off the floor.
This is where context matters. Look at the other playoff teams. They've got solid second options, reliable players ready to step in when stars get into foul trouble or just need a break. Indiana didn't have that luxury. They leaned on whoever was left standing, filling gaps with tape, grit, and sheer willpower. And yet, against all odds, they still punched their ticket to the postseason for the 2nd straight year. That alone is the definition of resilience.
Come on, guys. This is my new team, the medical staff. Oh, yeah.
Sophie Cunningham may have summed it up best without even meaning to. Stuck in knee rehab, she joked that she's basically part of the medical staff now. A throwaway line, but one that perfectly captured the absurdity of the Fever's season, a starter-turned-cheerleader cracking jokes to keep spirits high, even though she should have been on the floor hitting shots. That's the Fever in a nutshell, finding ways to smile through the pain. And incredibly, those injuries didn't stop them from coming out swinging in Game 1. They stunned Atlanta early, built a lead, and played like they were too stubborn to acknowledge their disadvantages. But of course, it couldn't stay that simple. Just when the Fever proved they could hang despite everything, the referees stepped in and completely changed the direction of the game.
What the referees did, and I know why Stephanie White got a technical foul. Any coach that had to watch their team work so hard all season long, played through every single injuries, and the reason why they had so many injuries is because of these referees.
Every playoff game has its swings, but nothing kills momentum faster than a whistle that makes no sense. Indiana rolled into Atlanta carrying 6 injuries yet came out swinging. They stormed to a 15-6 lead, with Kelsey Mitchell torching the net early and Aaliyah Boston owning the paint, pulling boards, and shutting down drives. The Fever looked fearless, playing like a team determined not to be defined by who they were missing. For a moment, it felt like the unthinkable might happen, a battered roster toppling a fully loaded dream squad. And then, the whistles came. Call after call drained the energy right out of the game.
Ryan Howard just falls down, but it's a foul. Like, this is ridiculous. Look at this. Kelsey Mitchell. They don't even let the Fever play defense because she's associated with Caitlin Clark. Look at this one. Another foul where nobody touched him. So they lost the timeout and they lost their challenges for the game because the referees can't do their job.
Indiana's early rhythm was shattered by whistles that seemed to come out of thin air. Stops that should have sparked fast breaks were instead whistled dead, handing Atlanta free throws. Clean contests somehow turned into fouls. Even when Mitchell and her teammates fought through screens to deny open looks, the plays were halted and flipped by calls that made no sense. And it wasn't just a one-off mistake, it kept happening, over and over, bleeding away the urgency and edge the Fever had built to start the night.
The referees took it over. Look at this. Everybody saw this. Lexi Hall didn't touch her, but they had to waste their first challenge on this play. Here we go. Look at this. She gets elbowed in the face, and they call a foul on Brianna Turner. And then Lexi Hall turns around to go back on defense, but she gets charged for a foul, and they wanted to upgrade it, reviewed it.
Lexi Hall ended up one of the biggest victims of the phantom whistles. She was whistled for a foul on Ryan Howard despite being in textbook defensive position, nowhere near illegal contact. Coach Stephanie White immediately challenged, and the replay showed what everyone already knew: there was no foul. But it forced her to burn a challenge in the first quarter, something no coach wants that early. By the second quarter, she'd already spent both of her challenges just to keep her team afloat. White admitted afterward it was beyond frustrating. Winning both challenges only proved the refs were flat out missing calls, and she had no more lifelines left to protect her players from being buried by bad officiating.
Look at this. Boston gets elbowed in the face by Brittany Griner. Do you think they called it? No. And look at this. Lexi Hall did not touch her. Didn't even touch her. And she gets free throws. Here we go. Kelsey Mitchell touched her hip lightly.
At the same time, Atlanta's physical play was basically given a free pass. Fans watched Brianna Jones throw an elbow into Brianna Turner, or Brittany Griner shove Aaliyah Boston off her spot in the post, and the whistles stayed silent. The imbalance was glaring. When Indiana so much as put a body on someone, it was a foul. When Atlanta did it, the game rolled on. That kind of inconsistency doesn't just tilt a scoreboard, it eats away at a team's confidence, rhythm, and focus, making every possession feel like a gamble.
Lexi Hall gets thrown out of bounds. No foul, right? Remember that play, okay? Boston, foul. But look at this. So she goes for the ball, and then they call a foul on Lexi Hall. Look at, she says, wow.
By the fourth quarter, the frustration boiled over. White barked at the officials after a sequence where Ryan Howard pulled on Petty without a whistle. The referees hit her with a technical for speaking the same frustration every Indiana fan was yelling at their TV.
Talk about the physicality of this game and being able to notice the play out playing in such a physical game like today.
Yeah, I mean, I think we knew coming in it's playoffs, it's going to be physical, and we're going to have to learn how to play with that, especially this team is inherently a physical team. So for us, knowing that's the case and being able to respond, I think there's things that we're able to watch and film on how to handle that better, not letting the refs determine, how that physically is impacting us, but just continuing to play through that. It's definitely something we're going to have to work on and watch film and get better at, but that's part of playoffs, and that's part of the thing that we're going to have to get better at moving forward in the series.